Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is my first episode. I am really excited that you guys are here with me. Please excuse the background. I am recording on the lower level of my home and I had to make do with this curtain back here because I just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't see storage instead of just maybe like a blank, somewhat of a blank space. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited. About a month ago or so, I kind of recorded a small intro to my channel and I discussed, some of the things that would be on this channel. Excuse if I say a lot. This is my first episode and I'm a little nervous on camera and recording, so let's get to what the channel will be about. Okay, so I guess a few months back, I really wanted to start up a channel based on beginner knitters, I guess. Let me give you a little bit of background. So I consider myself a beginner knitter. I have done some crochet on and off since I was a little kid. Of course, my mother taught me how to crochet, but I only did it on and off, and so I really never caught the gist of it until a few years ago when I really started like dedicating time to picking up the crochet again. I'm still not perfect at it, but I do enjoy it very much. But about a year or two ago, I went to pick up some stuff for crocheting, and I actually saw a book on knitting, and I saw some of the beautiful patterns they had and like the shawls, and I have watched a lot of podcasts out there that are marvelous, and they have these beautiful pieces of artwork, I call them, and I thought to myself, wow, that's so beautiful. And I've never tried knitting. And so I was very intrigued and I went and bought myself one of those like starter kits that have like the instruction book, the needles and stuff like that. And so I picked that up and I started, of course, knitting scarves. And the minute I started knitting my first scarf, I kind of knew, I was like, oh, I'm gonna like this a lot. So needless to say, I've been trying to not perfect, but try to get better at knitting. I didn't put in enough time in doing it so often where I kind of picked it up, and by the third or fourth month it was, oh my god, I was knitting all these beautiful things. Like I said, I've been doing it on and off, but for the last few months I've really been telling myself I really want to dedicate myself to at least learning how to knit, even if it's just on like a intermediate or whatever you may call it. I would love to get advanced or whatever the levels are in knitting, but I know that I needed to put some time into it, which I never had before. And so a few months ago I started picking up my knitting needles again, and I just started looking at some patterns, kind of like printing some out, and so it's been a journey, because even though the knitting of the scarves is very simple, the knit and purl and this and that you learn, when you start getting into the more intermediate patterns and the more intricate looking shawls and stuff, it's kind of, for me, it's one of those things that's kind of like, huh, what does that pattern really say? So I've been trying to be diligent on at least doing half an hour to an hour of knitting a day. I actually have crocheted a few things, and again, they're not like advanced or anything like that, because like I said, I picked, I've done crochet on and off since I was a little kid. So I've done a few things. Going back to why I wanted to make this channel is because I wanted to track my progress, and I wanted to see maybe in some future, wow, look at where I started, and have a video log of how well I'm doing or how far I've come from my first sort of knitting, shawls or hats or whatever. Because right now they're looking pretty beginner. But anyway, I'll give you an example. Hold on. So I want to say about almost a year ago, I was on YouTube, and I was just kind of watching shows and this and that, and I actually came across a tutorial because I wanted to knit a shawl, but because I knew that sometimes the knitting and the patterns, I had a hard time following them. I said, let me just see if there's a tutorial just so I can get the hang of it, and maybe some of the terms, when I hear the terms and I see them being done, I'm more apt to like capture what it means versus I pick up a pattern, I read it, and I gotta flip back to like the abbreviations and stuff like that. So I figured I'd go on there, but I saw a tutorial, and it was from the Crochet Crowd, and I'll link them below or wherever it is here on YouTube that you link stuff to the actual tutorial. And it was a shawl that, it was a crochet shawl. It wasn't a knitted shawl. It was a crochet shawl, and it was done in sock yarn, in Patton's Kroy sock yarn. And so I had a few, sock yarn balls, but I figured, you know what? I would love to practice on it first before I even use, the sock yarn, or even buy some really nice indie yarn to actually make it. So I went to, I think it was like Joann's or something like that, and I picked up some acrylic yarn because I wanted to practice on this. So I did practice on it, and actually it came out pretty okay. It wasn't too perfect, but it was okay. And the actual shawl was a little shorter. The tutorial, it was called to me to be a little shorter, but I actually made it a little longer because I'm a little taller, and so I felt that the shawl that they made just kind of came up here, and it kind of looked, I don't know, I just felt like weird. I felt like I looked like a mushroom actually when it was as short as it was. So I kind of made it a little longer, which now kind of looks like a poncho, but it's still the same pattern. It's just a little longer, and I did not add the tassels. They had tassels that went around to it. And again, very beautiful, stuff like that. So I just kind of did my own adaptation, and I did follow the tutorial. And so I made mine in, I think it was Red Heart Super Saver, and I did it in multiple colors because the one they had done was I don't think it was a self-striping, it was a variegated yarn, I think, and so it was very beautiful. But I just started knitting, and then I ran out of that yarn, and I had another different color Super Saver. So what I did was every time I ran out, I just picked up a different color Super Saver, and it actually came out like it was kind of like in the same family. So let me show it to you guys. Let me see if I can do this correctly so that you guys can see it. So here it is. It has these kind of web like little edges, and let me see if I can stretch it out this way. I don't know if you guys could see that. And it actually comes together here in the front. This is not looking right, but it's supposed to have 3 wooden buttons, and I'm wondering if I kind of just throw it on here, if you guys can get a kind of like a visual of how this would look like on. And so I did this little edging on it right here, if you guys can see it. And so the wooden buttons would probably, it probably wouldn't come up the side, but the wooden buttons would kind of go right here. I have 3 wooden buttons that I got for it. And then it would, see how it's kind of like a webbed, and then it comes up. So, and I did it in, this is actually a Lions brand color, and this is actually in the color, I want to say either Grand Canyon or Canyon. This is Red Heart Super Saver in just the Aran, I think it's called, Aran colorway. This is their brown color, Aran again, and then this right here, I forgot what the color was. It was kind of like burnt something. I don't want to say terracotta, but it was something burnt terracotta in the Super Saver. So anyway, I did that. And so I crocheted, and it was one of the first, I guess, projects that I completed, except for the buttons, of course, that I actually was made. You know what? And actually, I had started it because when we went to Rhinebeck this past October, I really wanted to wear it. Unfortunately, I had run out of yarn down here, and so by the time I got the yarn and started crocheting on it again, I realized I'm not gonna get it done. And I hadn't put the buttons on it either. I wasn't even, close to just doing the finishing touches. So I kind of just put it away. And I didn't wear it to Rhinebeck. So after I put that away, there was other things that I started because this wasn't the only thing I worked on. I have to say, I did work on this diligently, and I really didn't get sidetracked very much while I was doing this because I was so eager to finish it. And it didn't matter because I just still didn't finish it for when I wanted it to, but that's okay. I will wear that. Another thing I had started doing a while back was the knitting of socks, which I really, really fell in love with. Although I have to say that in the year and a half that I've tried to knit a full pair of socks, it's been a journey. And I actually completely finished one pair, but I have started, I want to say, a good 4 to 5 pair. Let me take that back. I have finished 3 pairs of socks, but there is an explanation to all this. So I've tried on 5 pair with knitting needles. For some reason, I tried knitting socks on circulars, and maybe because I was beginner, I really didn't grasp the concept. I even watched tutorials, and it was, I don't know why, I don't know if it was just the day that I tried to do it, I was fogged up or something like that, but I didn't take well to those. So what I did was I tried double pointed, and I actually took well to the double pointed. I have no idea why, because you would think circular needles may be easier, but I don't know. So I tried it on double pointed, and I took well to them, and I did like maybe, I started 1 or 2 pair, and I went all the way down to where the heel flap is, and I knit the flap, and then when I was gonna join back in the round, for some reason I just either just read, I just didn't get it. I tried it, and I ended up with huge holes on the sides of my socks. And so I ripped them up, and I tried it again, and I wasn't just doing it right. So I got really frustrated at that, and I put it away. And I said, I'm gonna start a fresh pair. I didn't even want to rip back. So I started a fresh pair, and I got to the flap. I did it, and I started joining again, and it was a little better, but I still had the holes, and I think I knit too many extra stitches, and so it ended up being wider than where the actual leg and the cuff part were. So I was just like, I'm putting these away. So I put them away. So one day I had gone to AC Moore. I was looking for something else, and I came across a sock loom, and I didn't know they made those, but it was a kit, and it had instructions and everything. And so I said, you know what, let me try it. Who knows? Because I was really eager to make a pair of socks. And so I did. I bought the loom, and I actually came home, and I actually successfully knit 2, I want to say 2 or 3, I think 2 full pairs of socks on the loom. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. And so I did that. But then I really, really wanted to learn how to knit socks on needles, not just on the loom. Not that the loom has any less, interest to me or anything like that. It was just, I really wanted to learn how to do it with the needles. So I did. I tried it again. And when I got to the heel, I really chickened out. I really didn't even want to start the flap. And so I was watching a podcast one day, and I heard the girl talking about she was knitting socks with an afterthought heel to them. And I said, ooh, what's that? And so, of course, she was explaining it. And then I watched a few tutorials about afterthought heel socks. And I went, ooh, I think I could, that would probably work better for me since you're knitting the whole sock all the way down. And then after you go back and put the heel in. And so I told myself, you know what? I'm going to try to do that. And so I did. And I actually knit 2 pairs of socks after that and put an afterthought heel in it. The first one that I did, the heel was actually very sharp. It looked very harsh, but again, it was my first heel, and so I was like, that's fine. They're finished. And I'll just try it on my second one. The second one came out a little better, but it was still a little triangular shaped, and so I'm like, okay, well, and I know maybe there's other ways of doing afterthought heels, so I actually am looking to do that. I still, though, am going to be trying out socks that I knit the heel as I go, and then, knit the rest of the sock, because I really like the way that looks versus an afterthought heel. So I'm in the process of doing that, although I still have a pair of socks that that are gonna have afterthought heels on them. And I guess that's my half finished object. I don't know, I'm not even gonna say half finished, because it's not even, the first sock isn't even finished. It's works in progress, right? Is that what you guys call it? This is a sock that I am knitting. This is the cuff. I know it seems a little wobbly, but I'm still learning, guys, how to knit my socks on double pointed needles. And this is actually, these are all different, it's a self-striping yarn, and it's purple, and these are all different shades of purple. And so I'm almost done at the bottom. And then here's, if you can see the thread, I put green thread in there of where the heel is gonna go. So I'm in the process of doing that. Hopefully it'll turn out better than my other ones. And this yarn is actually a self-striping from Deborah Norville. And the colorway is actually in Violas. Yeah, colorway is Violas. Again, it's Deborah Norville sock yarn. And so I'm really excited to see how these end up. And that's what I'm in the process of doing as well. Another thing that I'm in the process of doing, you guys are gonna laugh at me. So remember the whole shawl thing I was talking about? How I really, really wanted to learn how to knit a shawl. I have a few patterns, and I actually have gotten a few books that I've seen, that I've rented from the library, and so I've seen a few patterns that are really beautiful, and I've actually bought really nice yarn. I have some indie yarn, and I have some just practice yarn. I have acrylic, and I'm gonna just come out and say it. I am no I don't discriminate yarn, although I do have my preferences of yarn. So I do love indie dye yarn. I love the natural fibers, and so I do have some of those, but because when I first started knitting, I didn't know about the different, I knew about different fibers and stuff like that, but I just didn't know about how, each one held up and stuff like that. So I did have a small stash of acrylic yarns, and I, had some with nylons, for the socks and stuff like that I still have. And so I don't see the reason to be wasteful. I could always give it away to somebody that really does use it, but I figured I'm a beginner, and sometimes, you have the nicer yarn, and I would hate to like mess it up, but you can always frog or whatever, pull, just rip back. But I really am thinking I rather save my nice yarn for when I know that I'm gonna be able to knit a really nice pattern and be okay with it and not have to mess it up. So I do use my acrylic yarn until it's all done, and then after that, if I don't want to buy anymore, then I just won't. Because like I said, I really do like the natural fibers and stuff like that. But in the meantime, I do have a few acrylic yarns that I use, and so right now I'm in the process of practicing a shawl. And I don't even know if it's a shawl. It's one of those I would say like a triangular like shawlette, or like a triangular wraparound scarf, like, you know, for your neck. That kind of, you can put it either as a shawl or you can use it as a scarf. So I found a few patterns, and I don't know if I really I'm one of those people that get really eager sometimes when I want to try something. And instead of being patient and looking through the pattern, I'll try the pattern. And if it's not coming out right a couple times, I just kind of think of in my head, okay, how am I going to figure out how to do this? And sometimes for me, what I find works is I'll try to think of something in my head and do it, and just to learn the rhythm of something. And then I'll go back when that's done, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how it's gonna turn out, or this is what they mean by it. So right now I had seen a shawl that I wanted, which was kind of one of those, you know, little shawlette scarf things. And so I didn't have a pattern. You guys are gonna probably laugh at me, but I didn't have a pattern. And so I kind of decided, let me make up a little scarf myself without a pattern. How bold, right? Beginner knitter trying to make up her own scarf. But I did. So I actually am using this acrylic yarn, and this is actually, it's a gray scarf with speckles, shiny speckles in it. And I think this is actually a Karen Super Soft that I had in my stash. And I have a couple balls, so I figured I'd use that. And so I just thought to myself, I'm gonna make a scarf. It's just gonna be knit. It's not gonna be, I didn't even do like a stockinette stitch. I just said, I'm just gonna knit. But instead of starting it, I know that most shawls and most scarflets, whatever, start at the V and go up. Well, I had a hard time trying to do the little V. So what I did was I said, you know what? I'm going to start, instead of from the bottom up, I'm going to start from the top down, from the widest part to the more narrow part. And so what I did was I just cast on a ton of stitches, and hopefully it'll run my wingspan. And I just started knitting. Actually, it is separated, so don't think that I just knit a circle, because it's not. There it goes. There it goes. So I'm just kind of knitting, and so I knit, I want to say maybe, sorry about that, somebody upstairs turned on the furnace. So I had to go shut it off, because like I said, I am recording on the lower level of my home, and so if that thing goes on, you will not hear me at all. So, like I was saying, I want to say I knit like maybe 15 to 20 rows, and I should have, maybe I could have done it in less, but I'm thinking after I'm done with it, I wanted room to maybe crochet a border around it, a pretty border. So what I did was I did 15 to 20 rows, and then I started decreasing. So what I did was I decreased the first row and then knit back, you know, on the same row, on the next row, and then I decreased the next row, and then I knit the next row, and then decrease. So hopefully it'll start, you know, coming in. I don't know if that's how you that's how you knit a proper shawl. But again, I'm just starting. I'm a beginner, and I know that I'm going to be making mistakes, and I know that some of you guys are going to be laughing at me saying, what is this girl doing? So hopefully there'll be comments. I know that there will be. Don't be too harsh. Just give me tips if you can, or if you guys see that I am doing something wrong, or that something that could be done easier that I'm just not getting and I'm doing it the hard way, feel free to leave me any comments. So anyway, that's what I'm actually working on right now. And so when it's done, I'll actually show you guys what it looks like. And I'll actually show you the progress. Hopefully next time I podcast, I'll show you, what the progress is and what the border looks like. So that's that. And so I guess now I can move on to some of the, since we were talking about shawls, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about, how I still have a stash of acrylic yarn, and I have some nice yarn that I have acquired. Not a lot, but little by little. I'm purchasing more natural fibers that are really beautiful, that I really like, that I've been liking knitting with. So one of the examples was, remember when I was talking about the shawl / poncho that I was trying to make for Rhinebeck? When we went to Rhinebeck in October, oh, it was so beautiful this past year. But I actually purchased a little kit, and it was to make a shawl. I think it was, I don't know what the kit is called, but it was really cute kit, and it had three hand-dyed yarns. I think it is hand-dyed, yeah. And it actually came in a little bag that she also made with the 3 yarns. It was like a kit. It was really pretty. Anyway, I'm sure most of you guys know who this is, but this is her card, and it was Kelsey Stevens from Primrose Yarn Company, and this is her little card. And again, I love this. This is so pretty, isn't it? And this is the kit that I purchased. So this actually is one of her clear, I want to say, like, what is this, like a vinyl or PVC? I don't know. It's a plastic. But it actually has this beautiful fabric that she sewed on it, and it has a little handle to go with it. Isn't that cute? It's adorable. And the 3 yarns, she had all different, she had kits and different style fabrics, and the kit that I picked, this yarn was, I mean, she had beautiful colors and she had beautiful combinations, but this one kind of spoke to me, and so I purchased this one. And this has, the 3 yarns that are in here are the Coco Fuego. Isn't that a pretty yarn? And it's kind of like I want to say it's like a brownish mauve, and it has lighter, like I don't know, the way she did this, it's like a brownish, to me it looks like a brownish mauve, and it has like pinky creams, but it's not a pink, it's more like a cream. Oh, it's really pretty. I don't know if the light is actually capturing that or if it's getting blown out, but it's really, really, really pretty. So this is one of the skeins that was in there. The next color was Supernova, which is, oh, amazing. I love these colors. Isn't they cute? It's like a light, like a cream colored yarn, and it has all these colors. Isn't that pretty? I love that. And then the third color, is it a Supernova as well? No, this one is actually her mulberry colorway, and it's just like grape. Every time I look at it, that's what I think of, like a grape color with the pretty cream. Isn't it nice? So she has, in this particular kit, it was her mulberry, her Supernova, and her Coco Fuego. And look, isn't that cute? And I'm super excited. And she was so sweet when we went up to the to her booth and I was purchasing them, and she was telling me, like, you know, they were having I think a knit along or something, or a shawl along, I don't remember what it was, and she was saying, oh, join the group, and I I felt so ashamed because I didn't want to tell her I'm a beginner knitter, I wouldn't know what to do in this knit along, but she was so sweet, and I love these, and I don't know, these colors really spoke to me. I like them. So I bought that from her, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. That the yarn is so nice. I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing when I use the yarn, because it's real. Oh, and it's so soft. I love it. Feels my not that it feels like my kitty, but you know how when you have a kitty and you squeeze it and it's so nice and soft. That's, you know, that's how I feel about this. It's like, oh, you can squeeze it like your kitty. Anyway, please don't judge. I like kitties. I like doggies too, but you know what I'm talking about. The soft, you know, furry cats. Anyway, moving on. This is an example of like my nicer yarn and me not wanting to mess it up unless I know what I'm doing and it's coming out pretty nice. I do have other yarn. I don't know that I'll be showing it in this episode. Hopefully, if I have more acquisitions, as you guys call it, or if I shop for more yarn and I get something in the mail or whatever, I'll definitely show it next episode. And I do have some sock yarn and stuff like that that I really do want to leave for other episodes when I'm working on them. So for now, I'm really excited. Again, I said this is my first episode. I know I was all over the place, and there was a couple times that I had to cut the video, if you guys noticed that, because of the furnace or other things going on. But I'm really excited. Like I said, please share your thoughts. If you guys have any tips or tricks, hopefully as the episodes go on and I start actually showing you guys things and maybe asking questions or suggestions, then you guys can definitely let me know. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to show you guys or talk about. For now, those are the beginner projects that I'm actually working on. And oh yeah, and actually maybe next time I do, now that I mention it, I forgot to talk about my crate. I have a little crate, and that's what I lug around the house. Like if we're watching TV and I want to knit or crochet while I'm watching TV, I just pick up my little crate with me and I take it with me in the room and do whatever while I'm watching stuff. So maybe that'll be a segment in our show. What's in my crate? So next time I'll show you. I am crocheting an Afghan. I've always wanted to crochet an Afghan. I actually had, before I leave, I had a really beautiful Afghan that somebody gave me, and we had it in my car, and one day my doggy got really sick on a car ride and it was pretty bad. So needless to say, it was one of those things that even if I hosed it down and washed it, it just was not working. So I had to get rid of it, and it was really sad because it was really beautiful. It was a beautiful Afghan that I was given. It wasn't that somebody made it for me. Somebody made it for somebody else, and that person didn't like it or just didn't care for crocheted things, and so she was like, here you go, you can take it. And so I really did love it. I had it on my couch, my kids took it in the car, and this and that. But anyway, so I've been wanting to make an Afghan since then, and so I'm working on one. So maybe the next time I do the podcast, I will show you the progress and how I'm making that Afghan. So for now, I just want to say thank you so much if you took the time to kind of scroll through this podcast or just kind of watch it to see what it was about. I'm hoping that I can give you guys good content. Again, as I said in my intro, this is mostly a sewing, crocheting, and knitting podcast, but it is not limited to those things. I also like a lot of journaling and crafting and homemade things, and so hopefully I will incorporate those things into this channel and see how that plays out. Anything homemade is great, and I think it's just part of this whole, crafting, homemaking, and knitting, sewing community. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. So for now, I'll say see you later to you guys, and hopefully you'll try to check out my second episode, which I'll take notes for, and I won't be so scatterbrained on that one. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll catch you guys later. Thanks. Bye.